Hello, welcome to Lift, Run, Repeat. My name is Jason. Thank you for watching yet another one of my videos. Today I'm going to go over the second part of my FITT principle series on the basic overview of sort of how to incorporate the different components for exercise programming. And if you watched the previous video, that was a whiteboard video on my channel page. You can go check that out. I plan to do that with this one too. But given this current situation around the world and everybody's kind of stuck at home doing home workouts, I figured this might be a better way to kind of get the picture across for adding intensity to the workout, which we're going to talk about today. So intensity just relates to like how hard are you working out. So without going too far into the dirty details, what we're going to be talking about is using a scale known as the rate of perceived exertion, or the RPE scale. And that is based off of a previous scale which was developed by an exercise researcher named Borg. And he came up with what was known as the Borg scale. And that was a method of numerically categorizing your workout intensity on a scale that ran from 6 to 20. And it was loosely tied to kind of approximate heart rate. So, if you were lifting a heavy weight and you would rate it a certain measurement on that Borg scale that was commensurate with more of a heart rate intensity. And as you can imagine, it's not really, people still use it, but it's not for the general public. It's a little bit difficult to determine whether or not your back squat is, an 11 or a 13. So that was modified into something a little bit easier to use, which is just a 0 to 10 scale, which people are much more familiar with. And so now it's easier to kind of rate, that back squat, oh, that was a 7, or that was a 6. However. That's what we're going to talk about today. But relative to sort of maybe some basic modifications you can make to at-home workouts that you might be doing. So without jawing too much more, we'll get right at it. So essentially what we're going to be doing if you're at home is if you've got weights, you've got some dumbbells, you got a set of dumbbells, that's great. Awesome. You can use those. But not everybody has those, or they don't have the heavy enough ones for what they want to do. So we can do different modifications. So like just a water jug or a milk jug is good. If you've got one of those big drinking container jugs, that's good too, because that weighs more. So that's a good way to add more intensity to your session. But even if you don't have that, or if you want to try and go even heavier, just grab a backpack. A backpack's gonna be great. You can just put any kind of dumbbells you might have in it, like so, and just kind of put them in there, stuff them in there. And then you can add different things if you need more weight, like wrenches and hammers, because that all weighs good. And then just kind of look around for some other stuff. So maybe you got other tools, screwdrivers, drills, exercise medicine balls, things like that. It can be a little jangly though, it kind of jostles around a little bit. So what I would say is if you're going to do that, you're going to put some dumbbells or some weights or books or something like that. Then take up the extra space by just putting in a rolled up towel. Just kind of stuff it in there, and that'll take up the extra room. So that way, when you're moving around, whether you're doing squats or jumping jacks or pull-ups or whatever it is you're going to do with that weighted backpack, that you're not jingling it around too much. So that way it's nice and secure. So getting right into the exercises here, just going to show you two just basic at-home exercises that anyone can do using this scale. We're going to modify them as we go along. So the first one is squats. So just sitting there doing nothing is a 0. Standing up out of a seated position is a 1. Doing repeated air squats or body weight squats is going to be a 2 or a 3. You're going to use that gallon jug, might make it a 4, or like a 10-pound weight, something moderate. Something a little heavier like that 3-gallon jug is going to maybe jack it up to a 5 or a 6. And then if we're going to throw in some plyometric stuff, that might make it a 7. I swear I can jump higher than that, but there was things above my head and I was afraid I was going to crack my head on the garage. The adding the backpack, weighted backpack, that's definitely going to make it, 7, 8, depending on how much weight you have in there. If you got a big overnight, backpacking trip, REI style backpack, you load that up with, 100 pounds if you wanted. Slowing things down. So I did all those at the same sort of measured tempo. But if I slow them way down, that makes it a lot harder. So that's gonna, that's a different way to modify your intensity, is by how fast you're doing the exercise. And then here I just sort of changed my grip, but I didn't really change anything else. Still doing them super slow. Really gonna try to get a good burn there. If you're doing multiple sets of that really slow tempo, that's definitely gonna be a different way to modify intensity. So let's go to push-ups. So push-ups is another one that's easy to do at home. Standing is 0. A wall push-up like that is just going to be a 1. Something just maybe for some mobilizations, just to kind of get your shoulders loose. And then depending on if you're doing a countertop or a tabletop or a middle shelf like that, that might be a 2 or a 3. And then we're going to go down to the ground, doing kneeling push-ups for a 4. A full push-up is going to give you 5, 6, something like that. So adjusting the width of your hand placement is a good way to differentiate intensity for push-ups. So here, kind of a real narrow grip. Yeah, that might make it pretty hard. That might make it a 7. And then elevating, do some kind of decline push-up. Elevating your feet, here just off of the cooler, might make it an 8. And then I can go even higher than that in here, make it really difficult. Or I can throw that backpack on and add a weight to the push-up. So all of those are real easy ways to modify intensity. So again, that's just easy ways just to get kind of creative when you're kind of stuck at home doing a home workout, because maybe you can't go out because all the gyms are closed. So, think about different ways that you can take easy exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges, what kinds of things can you change and add to them so that you can make sure that intensity level is high enough and hard enough that you're really getting the benefit that you're trying to get. So there you have the RPE scale, 0 to 10. The thing about that scale is that it is subjective and that you say what it is. So you do have to be honest with yourself. Are you really working hard enough to justify the 8 that you wrote in your notebook? Or could you really kind of go harder? So that's kind of the bad part about that. You can measure your intensities a little more objectively with things like getting a VO2 max test, or you can do in laboratories they do, EMG testing on your muscles. They put electrodes on the muscle and see if it's working hard. But that's not really feasible. So instead, you can use a little more objective measurement techniques like a smartwatch, and rate your heart rate zone if you're doing cardio and things like that. It doesn't work quite as well for weight workouts and things like that, strength training, which is why this RPE scale is a little bit more effective for sort of self-monitoring your own intensity. So there you go. There's the intensity rating video. Again, that's part 2 of the FITT principle, and we'll talk more about that, and we'll finish it up with time and type in the next one. So thanks for watching. Again, my name is Jason. This is Lift, Run, Repeat. Have a good one. Everybody, wash your hands.